My beloved child, you once believed you had everything. From the outside, your life looked complete. You had the title, you had the respect, you had the applause of people who barely knew your name. You walked into rooms and were noticed. Your words held weight. Your success made others look up to you, and for a while you convinced yourself that this was enough. But deep down, there was always a silence you could not quiet. A question that kept returning to you in the stillness of night. Is this all there is? Though your days were full, your heart felt increasingly empty. Though you smiled for the world, your soul grew tired. And in your quietest moments, when no one was watching, you admitted to yourself that something was missing. You just didn't know what it was. You poured your time into work, hoping that achievement would fill the gap. You worked harder, climbed higher, outperformed, outshined, and still the emptiness lingered. You sought validation from others, hoping their approval would bring peace. But each compliment felt fleeting. Each recognition faded too fast. You told yourself to keep going, to stay strong, to be better. You feared what would happen if you slowed down, if you stopped performing, if you stepped away from the race. Would you still matter? Would you still be loved? So you kept running. But the faster you ran, the further you drifted from your heart. Your family began to notice the distance in your eyes, the way your presence felt absent, even when you were in the room. The way joy seemed like a memory, not a current reality. Conversations grew shorter. Moments of connection felt forced. And though they loved you, they didn't know how to reach the version of you that success had built. You became a man of many victories and few moments of rest. You were admired, but not known, surrounded, yet isolated, and in the mirror, you no longer recognized the person staring back. You had everything you thought you needed, everything the world said you should chase, but peace was not one of them. You began to question quietly, then more honestly. Why do I feel so lost when I'm supposed to be fulfilled? Why does all of this not feel like enough? And in that space I was already drawing near, not to accuse, not to shame, but to whisper, "Come home." You didn't hear me clearly at first. The noise of ambition was too loud, the expectations too heavy. But I kept speaking, through small interruptions, through moments of weariness, through the aching in your chest when the applause faded and the silence returned. I was in the spaces you tried to fill with busyness. I was in the gentle tug on your spirit when you looked into the eyes of your child and wondered what really mattered. You were not far from me, even when you felt far from yourself. I walked beside you in boardrooms and airports, through crowded events and silent hotel rooms. I stood at the edge of your mind, waiting for you to turn, watching you search for me in things that could never hold me. You were chasing peace in places where peace had never lived. You were trying to earn love that had already been given. You believed that if you could be impressive enough, you would finally feel whole. But the more you achieved, the more fragmented you became. And I waited. Not with judgment, but with compassion. Because I knew the day would come when you would look up, tired of striving, and ask, "Is there more?" And on that day I would be ready to answer, "Yes, there is. And I have it for you." You did not fail, my child. You followed the path you thought would lead to life. But you reached the end and found a door you could not open. That door was never meant to be forced. It was meant to be opened with surrender. Everything you built was not wasted. But it was never meant to be your foundation. It was meant to be a platform to meet me. And now, as the applause fades and the titles blur, you are standing at the threshold of something real. You are not late, you are not disqualified, you are not broken beyond repair. You are finally in the place where miracles begin, the place where the world falls silent and your heart becomes still enough to hear my voice. So listen, my beloved. Not to the voices of pressure, but to the voice of peace. I have never stopped calling you. You thought success would give you rest. But I am your rest. You thought greatness would bring you meaning, but I am your meaning. You thought if you ran far enough, you would escape the ache, but I have been running beside you all along. You are not alone. You never were, and now that you are still enough to hear me, I say this with all the love in my heart. Welcome home. Let this be the beginning, not the end. Let this awareness, this ache, this quiet recognition that something was missing be the doorway into a life you never thought possible. One that isn't built on how others see you, but on how deeply you are known by me. You are more than your role, more than your reputation, more than your resume. You are mine. And that is your truest identity. Even when you were drowning in performance, I saw the child inside you longing for rest, longing to be held without conditions. The path you walked has been long. It has taken much from you, but it has also brought you here, to this moment where you are finally still, finally listening, finally open. And in this openness, I will begin to heal what success never could. This miracle, my child, doesn't begin with thunder. It begins with a whisper, a shift in your soul, a softness in your gaze, a return to the one who has loved you all along. So come close, let go, rest in me. I have always been near, my beloved child. There were nights when you lay awake, long after the world had gone to sleep. Your body was exhausted, but your mind would not rest. Thoughts circled endlessly, not loud, but persistent. Questions without answers, a weight you couldn't name. You told yourself it was just stress, just a phase, just part of being responsible. But deep inside, something was unraveling. You couldn't explain the ache. It wasn't pain exactly. It was a quiet sadness that followed you into every room. Even in laughter, it lingered. Even in success, it whispered. A sense that something was missing, that something was off. But there were no words for it, so you buried it beneath your schedule, beneath your smile, beneath your silence. You kept doing what you were supposed to do. You woke up, got dressed, showed up. You answered messages, completed tasks, played the role. To others, you looked steady. Maybe even strong. But inside, your soul was drifting. The things that once brought meaning began to feel hollow. Words felt forced. Conversations turned into transactions. Relationships became routines. You smiled and nodded, but you weren't really there. You spoke, but your words felt distant from your heart. You performed, but your spirit felt far away. And as this continued, something in you began to grow cold, not out of rebellion, but out of depletion. You weren't angry. You were empty. Your family sensed it. The way your hugs grew shorter. The way your eyes lost their sparkle. The way you sat at dinner but weren't really present. And slowly, without words, distance crept in. Little misunderstandings, missed moments. The warmth that once surrounded your home began to fade. You tried to fix it. You told yourself you'd make more time, be more attentive, more patient. But no matter what you tried, it felt like you were giving from a well that had long since run dry. You began to resent the very people you loved, not because of who they were, but because of how incapable you felt of loving them the way they deserved. And yet, even then, I was there, not just watching, but drawing near. Not demanding, but gently knocking. I whispered through your fatigue, "I see you." I placed glimpses of hope in places you least expected. A song, a sunrise, a kind word from a stranger. I wasn't trying to fix you overnight. I was simply reminding you that I had not left. But your life was loud, filled with noise and pressure and the need to stay afloat. So my whispers often got lost. Not because you didn't care, but because your heart was too tired to listen. So I waited. Not far away, right beside you. There were times you felt me, faintly, like a memory. Times you paused and wondered, when did I last feel joy? When did I last laugh from the soul? Those questions weren't your imagination. They were my invitation. I was awakening your spirit to the truth, that your life had become full of motion, but empty of meaning. You see, child, you were never created to survive your days. You were made to live them fully. But somewhere along the way, life became about enduring, not enjoying. About presenting, not connecting. About maintaining, not abiding. You looked for meaning in achievement, but it eluded you. You looked for comfort in routine, but it numbed you. You looked for life in all the things that looked alive, but they were lifeless. And the more you tried to revive yourself through effort, the more distant you felt from your own soul. But I never gave up. I never stopped knocking. Even when your prayers were few, even when your faith felt thin, I remained. I kept drawing close. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are, mine. And here's the truth you forgot. I do not speak with thunder when your heart is already fragile. I come softly, in stillness, in subtle nudges. I don't need to shout when love can whisper, and I have whispered for so long. I have stood at the door of your heart and gently knocked again and again. The world taught you to be efficient, productive, impressive, but I never asked for that. I asked for your heart, your honest, worn-out, weary heart. I longed to sit with you, not the polished version of you, but the real one. The one with doubts, the one with questions, the one that stares at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if anything will ever feel whole again. And here's the miracle. Even in that state, you are not beyond me. Even in that silence, I am still speaking. Even in that distance, I am still holding you. So stop trying to fix what only I can heal. Stop running from the ache. The ache is holy. It's the alarm bell of the soul. It's the proof that your heart was never meant to be numb. It's the beginning of awakening. Let your ache bring you to me. Let your weariness lead you into rest. Let your questions become a conversation. Let your silence become space for me to speak. You have not failed, my child. You've only wandered. And I know the way back. I've always known. And I've been walking beside you, waiting for the moment you turn, not in guilt, but in hope. And when you do, you'll find I'm not far. I never was. So pause, my child. Breathe deeply. Let go of the need to understand everything before coming to me. I am not waiting for your explanations. I am waiting for your honesty. Bring me your weariness. Bring me your confusion. Bring me the truth that life has felt too heavy and you no longer know what to do with it. I will not turn you away. I will not scold your silence. I will sit with you in it. I will remind you, not with force, but with faithfulness, that you are still mine, that your name is still written on my heart, that the darkness you've been walking through has not changed the light of my love for you, and slowly, gently, I will lead you back, not to the life you used to know, but to the life you were always meant for. A life of peace, of presence, of purpose, not rooted in performance, but in being deeply loved. So don't be afraid of the ache anymore. Don't rush to silence it. Let it speak. Because it is through that ache that your heart has remembered me, and I have never stopped remembering you, my beloved child. There came a moment when everything you thought was unshakable began to tremble. The ground beneath your feet, once solid and familiar, cracked open without warning. What you thought would never change suddenly did. A loss, a betrayal, a failure, an accident. It did not just disrupt your plans, it shattered your sense of control. And in that moment, you fell. You did not fall physically. You still stood upright, still answered calls, still got through your day. But inside, you collapsed. The weight of grief, confusion, and disbelief broke something in you. You tried to stay composed. You told others you were fine, but the truth was, you did not recognize the world anymore. The life you had built felt like it was slipping through your fingers, and you had no way to stop it. One moment you were holding it all together, the next you were watching everything unravel. You questioned yourself. You questioned others. And silently, you began to question me. Why? How could this happen? Where are you now? These were not accusations. They were cries. Cries from the rawest part of your soul, longing for meaning in the midst of pain. The nights grew longer. The silence louder. People offered words, but they did not help. Some disappeared. Others stayed, but did not understand. You felt surrounded, yet alone. And the one thing you needed most, peace, felt impossibly far. And still, I was there. Not with answers that made the pain vanish, but with presence that refused to leave. I sat in the room where you wept alone. I held your heart as it broke again and again. I heard every prayer you could not speak aloud, every sigh, every tear that fell onto the pillow when no one saw. You wondered if you would ever feel whole again. You feared this pain would last forever. You missed the version of you before the fall, the one who still believed life could be predictable, the one who had not been broken. But I want you to know, the breaking was not the end. It was the beginning. It did not feel holy. It felt like chaos, but even in the chaos I was working, not to punish you, but to draw you, not to destroy, but to deepen, not to strip you of everything, but to remove what was never meant to carry you. You see, my child, sometimes the collapse is mercy. Sometimes when all else falls apart, what remains is what is real. What remains is what lasts. And I remain. I did not cause your pain, but I have not wasted it either. I have walked with you through it. I have held your trembling hands. I have stayed even when you pushed me away in confusion. Even when you doubted my goodness, even when you thought you had nothing left to offer me. The truth is, I never needed you to be strong. I never needed you to pretend. I never needed a polished version of you. I needed you real. Honest, Broken, if that is what you were, because in that space I could finally come close. Not as an idea, not as a distant God, but as a father who weeps with his child. When you fell, I did not look away. I leaned in closer. I did not abandon you. I wrapped my arms around you, even when you did not feel them. I whispered into the ache, "You are not alone." And I stayed, through every wave, through every storm, through every sleepless night. I saw how you tried to get up quickly, to move on, to hold yourself together, but healing takes time. And I was never in a rush. I wanted to walk with you, step by step, until you were ready to rise, not out of pressure, but out of peace. There is no shame in falling. The shame is in believing you must rise alone, and you never have to. I have always been here, not just watching but lifting, not just listening but carrying. This breaking, painful as it was, made space for something new. It created cracks that let my light in. It broke open the shell that was protecting old wounds. And now, with gentleness, I am healing them. You may still feel raw. That is okay. You may not have all the answers. You do not need them. You only need me. And I am not leaving. I never left. What once felt like the end will one day be the beginning you thank me for. Because it brought you to me, not in triumph but in truth, not with fanfare but with surrender. So rest, my beloved. You do not need to prove your strength. Your tears are safe with me. Your confusion is not a threat to me. Your pain does not scare me. I am here, and I will stay. One day, you will look back and see that this moment of falling was not where your story ended, but where it began to deepen. You will see that the silence was not abandonment, but an invitation to listen differently. You will understand that the tears you cried watered seeds you did not even know were planted, seeds of compassion, of humility, of faith that no storm could take away. And in time, you will rise. Not the same as before, not stronger because you avoided pain, but because you passed through it and found me there. You will rise with wisdom, with tenderness, with a heart softened by the very things you thought would break you. You will see others fall, and you will not judge. You will sit with them as I sat with you. You will not try to fix, but to be present. You will carry peace, not platitudes, and your story will shine, not because it was easy, but because it was honest. You have not failed, my child. You have been found. In the fall, in the breaking, in the moment you thought all was lost, I was gathering every piece. So let me rebuild you, not in the image of the world, but in the likeness of grace. Let me show you what beauty looks like after ashes, what life feels like after surrender, what hope sounds like after despair. You are not a disappointment. You are not too broken. You are exactly where you need to be for me to begin something entirely new, and I promise you this. I am not done. The story is still unfolding, and I am still writing it with you. My beloved child, there came a night when you had nothing left. The weight of all that had happened, the loss, the silence, the grief, pressed against you so heavily that even words seemed to abandon you. You sat there in the dark, not to pray for a solution, not to demand a change, but simply to whisper a question. It was all you had left. God, if you're real. It wasn't a polished prayer. It wasn't eloquent or loud. It was broken, fragile, and barely audible. But it was honest. It was the first time in a long time that you weren't asking to escape the pain. You weren't bargaining. You weren't performing. You were simply reaching, hoping that someone, anyone, might be on the other side of your cry. And I was. Long before you spoke my name, I heard the tremble in your chest. Long before your lips moved, I felt the longing in your spirit. I wasn't waiting for the perfect words. I was waiting for your heart to open, even just a little, even through a whisper. You see, I never needed your certainty. I only needed your surrender. The moment you looked up, even without understanding, even without faith fully formed, I was already near, closer than breath, closer than the tears that slipped down your face. That night was not the end of your story. It was the turning point, because in that moment you stopped running and started reaching. And I want you to know, reaching is enough. You don't need to have it all figured out to come to me. You don't need to feel worthy or ready or strong. You just need to come. I am not the God who waits for you at the finish line. I am the God who walks beside you in the dark. I am the one who holds your questions without condemnation, the one who listens without rushing you to answers. When you whispered my name, I was already holding your soul in my hands. When you questioned if anyone heard, I was bending low to catch every sound. And when you thought you were alone, I was filling the space around you with my presence. It may not have felt like much in that moment. No lightning struck, no sky parted, no miracle announced itself with noise. But something eternal happened. Your spirit turned toward mine. Your voice, though small, touched heaven. And that was more powerful than you knew. You see, prayer is not about performance. It is about presence. It is the place where you stop pretending and start belonging. It is where I meet you, not in strength, but in surrender. That night, in your darkness, I wrapped my light around you. You couldn't see it yet, you couldn't feel it fully, but it was there. I was there, because I promised to be near to the broken-hearted, and you, my child, were deeply broken. I didn't come to explain your pain away. I came to sit with you in it. I came to whisper that you weren't invisible, that your voice mattered, that even in your lowest moment you were still mine. You don't have to fear the dark when I am in it with you. You don't have to fear being lost when I am the one holding your hand, and you don't have to fear that your prayer was too small, too unsure, too late, because no cry is ever too weak for me to hear. What you thought was desperation, I saw as courage. What you felt was collapse, I saw as the beginning of connection. What you whispered, I cherished. Do you know why? Because that prayer, raw, trembling, real, was the most sacred kind, the kind that doesn't try to impress, only to be heard. The kind that opens a door between despair and hope, between fear and faith. And that door, once opened, will never be closed again. Since that night, I have not stopped listening. I have followed your every step, whether forward or backward. I have collected every tear, recorded every sigh, remembered every word. Not one has been wasted. You may still wrestle with doubt. You may still feel unworthy. But none of that has changed how I see you. None of it has made me pull away. In fact, your honesty has drawn me closer. I am not afraid of your pain. I am not offended by your questions. I am not distant because you are uncertain. I am here, always here, so speak to me again. Not with fancy words, not with rehearsed phrases, just with your heart. Just as you are, because I have been listening since before you even knew how to speak. Since before you knew my name. since the very first ache that led you to whisper in the dark. And I am still here, listening, waiting, loving. Let me remind you of something beautiful. That night when you whispered, you didn't just start a conversation. You opened a connection, a lifeline between heaven and your soul. And though your life may not have changed overnight, your heart did. Something shifted inside you, a small flame that began to flicker against the darkness. And I have been tending that flame ever since. Every time you've paused in quiet thought, every time your heart has sighed toward me, every time you've wondered if I was still near, I was there, breathing life into the spark you lit that night. You may have returned to the same struggles, the same circumstances, but now you are not facing them alone. Now I am with you. Not just in theory, in truth. I am the stillness in your storm, the strength in your surrender, the answer to the prayer you didn't know how to pray. That night was not small to me. It was sacred, a moment where eternity touched earth, a moment I will never forget. And neither should you, because it marked the beginning of our walk together. Not the perfect walk, not the easy one, but the real one, where you no longer hide and I no longer feel far. So come to me again, just as you are, not because you've figured it out, but because you've begun to trust. And that trust is enough. The light is coming, and I am still listening, my beloved child. There was no thunder, no light from the sky, no voice echoing through the air. That morning, everything outside looked exactly the same. The world did not change, but something inside you did. You woke up and noticed the silence felt different. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't filled with fear. For the first time in a long time, the silence felt safe. It felt like peace. You couldn't explain it, not even to yourself. You hadn't solved all your problems. Nothing had been fixed overnight. But the weight that had pressed on your chest for so long was lighter. And in that stillness, you knew you weren't alone. That, my child, was the beginning of the miracle. It didn't come with flashes or fire. It came with a whisper. It wasn't a change in your circumstances. It was a change in your heart. And that change, though quiet, was holy. You see, some miracles shout. Others settle in gently, like morning light through a curtain. And this one, this miracle of mine, was soft. It didn't announce itself with fanfare. It entered quietly and sat with you, right where you were. That warmth you felt, that was me. That stillness in your chest, that was me. That strange, calm thought that maybe things could get better, that too was me. I had begun to breathe peace into places that were once drowning in anxiety. I began to fill the cracks in your heart with something no one else could give, my presence. My love, my constant. You didn't do anything special to earn it. You didn't pray the perfect prayer. You didn't suddenly become better. You just opened your heart, and I came in. That is who I am. I come not for those who have everything figured out, but for those who are finally honest enough to admit they're tired. I come to those who say, "Help," and mean it. I come when the soul surrenders, not when it shines. And when I come, I do not knock loudly. I step in gently. I mend, I restore, I wrap my peace around your chaos, and I hold you through it all. That morning was not random. It was the answer to your darkest night. It was the beginning of healing. You may not have noticed it at first, but from that moment on, something was different. You breathed a little deeper. You smiled, not because everything was fine, but because something inside you was finally okay. You stood up, not because the burden was gone, but because you weren't carrying it alone. This is what my peace does. It does not promise the storm will vanish, but it promises that you will not face it without me. It does not erase the pain, but it transforms how you carry it. It does not pretend there is no sorrow, but it teaches you how to hope again. And you, my child, began to hope again. You didn't call it a miracle at first. It felt too quiet, too subtle. But now you see it clearly. That softening of your heart, that return of breath, that whisper that said, "Keep going." Those were not accidents. That was the miracle beginning. And here is the truth. Many of my greatest works begin this way, not in grand gestures, but in sacred stillness, not in triumph, but in quiet trust. Not in the blaze of fire, but in the warmth of an opened heart. I was never far from you. I never waited for you to be perfect. I simply waited for you to be honest. And when you were, I came, fully, lovingly, faithfully. You don't have to chase me. I have already come close. You don't have to shout to be heard. I already know your voice. You don't have to prove yourself worthy. I've already called you mine. So now, walk with me. In peace, not performance. In rest, not rush. In trust, not tension. Let the miracle unfold. It has already begun. You may still have questions. You may still face days when fear knocks loudly at the door. But now, you have something you didn't before. You have my peace. It won't always feel loud, it won't always feel dramatic, but it will be faithful. And it will be enough. You don't need to fear that it will fade. My peace is not like the world's peace. It doesn't depend on the absence of trouble. It depends on my presence in the midst of it. As long as I am with you, peace will remain possible. And I am with you always. There will still be days of doubt. That's okay. I am not asking you to never waver. I am asking you to remember. Remember the stillness that settled over you. Remember the warmth that entered when you had no strength left. Remember that I did not leave. When you walk through deep waters again, I will carry you. When you sit in another night of silence, I will be there again. And when you forget what peace feels like, I will remind you. Because the miracle was not a one-time moment. It was a beginning, a door opening, a relationship growing. My love planted a seed, and peace is the first fruit of it. There will be more. Joy, hope, courage, freedom. They are all coming, but peace is what steadies the soul while they grow. So today, rest in what I've already given. Let the peace you felt that morning remind you of who I am and what I promised. I did not give you peace to take it back. I gave it to anchor you. Even now I am strengthening your roots. Even now I am building a life in you that no storm can shake. Even now I am unfolding the miracle quietly and powerfully, one breath at a time. And you are part of it. You always have been. You always will be, my beloved child. You didn't wake up one day with everything changed. You didn't rise from your pain and suddenly become whole. But you did something sacred. You began again, not in grand gestures, but in quiet steps. And that is where healing lives. It lives in the small things, in the soft beginnings, in the choices you made when no one was watching. You began to pray each morning. It wasn't long or eloquent. Sometimes it was just a few words. Sometimes just a breath. But it was real. It was honest. And it was enough. I heard you every time. Even when your eyes were still heavy with sleep, even when your voice trembled, even when all you could whisper was "thank you" or "help me." I received those prayers like treasure. You also began to listen, not just to the noise around you, but to the stillness within. You learned how to quiet your mind, even for a moment, so your heart could hear me. That silence wasn't empty. It was full of my presence, full of whispers, full of peace, full of grace. And slowly, that quiet time in the morning began to shape your day. You didn't notice it at first, but you were more patient, more gentle, more aware. You began to see people differently. You didn't always speak more, but your presence carried a new peace. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You were simply trying to live honestly. You reached out to your family again, not with promises or perfect words, but with a presence that felt more grounded. You began again with your spouse, with your children, with the friends you had drifted from. You stopped trying to fix everything overnight. You started showing up little by little with your full heart. And that, my child, is the path of redemption. Not a leap, but a return. Not perfection, but presence. Not a performance, but a relationship. And I've been with you every step of the way. I never asked you to change everything in a day. I never asked for a flawless turnaround. I asked for one step, just one act of trust. One moment of humility, one breath of surrender, and you gave it. That was the moment everything began to shift. You may have wondered if it was enough. If these small choices, these gentle beginnings, could really matter. Let me assure you they do. The kingdom of heaven moves through mustard seeds, through acts of quiet courage, through morning prayers spoken half awake, through hugs given without words, through silence offered instead of anger. These are the things that change lives, and yours is changing, not because you've mastered anything, but because you've returned to me. That's what I wanted all along. Not your perfection, your presence. Not your strength, your surrender. I am not watching to see if you'll stumble. I am walking beside you, so that when you do, I can lift you up quickly, gently, and lovingly. I am not keeping score. I am keeping you close. So when you feel discouraged because the steps feel too small, remember this. Every movement toward me matters. Every moment of honesty. Every time you choose patience over pride, kindness over control, love over fear. You've started again, and that's no small thing. You've built something sacred in the quiet. And I am building with you. You may think the small things go unnoticed, but I see them all. I see you waking up a little earlier just to sit in silence with me. I see you choosing forgiveness, even when it would be easier to stay angry. I see you breathing deeply instead of speaking quickly. I see you remembering me in the moments that used to make you feel alone. And I smile. These small things are not small to me. They are holy. They are the bricks of restoration. Each one is a seed. And I promise, what you are planting now will one day bloom with more beauty than you imagine. You may not see the fruit yet, but the roots are growing deep. Your children may not say it, but they feel it. Your spouse may not find the words, but they sense the shift. Your friends may not notice every change, but your quiet faith is stirring something in them too. Light never stays hidden for long. It finds its way into the dark, even when it starts as a flicker. You are that light now, not because you shine on your own, but because you've chosen to stay near me. And when you stay near me, your life becomes a reflection of mine. Your home begins to feel different. Your words carry peace. Your touch heals more than you know. Your example speaks when words fall short. Do not despise the slow days, the days that feel ordinary, the days that seem too quiet to count. These are the days foundations are laid. These are the days your soul becomes strong. These are the days I cherish most with you. So keep praying, even when you don't know what to say. Keep listening, even when you hear nothing at first. Keep reaching, even when it feels like no one sees. I see, I hear. I am responding in ways deeper than you can imagine. And when you feel tired, come rest in me. When you fall short, come lean on me. When you doubt the process, let me remind you of how far you've come. You are not starting over from nothing. You are starting over with me. And that changes everything. This journey may look quiet, but it is loud in heaven. Angels rejoice over every step you take. I rejoice. I celebrate. I walk with you in every sunrise, in every word of grace, in every time you show up again. So do not rush the process. Do not compare your walk to anyone else's. Walk with me. One breath at a time, one prayer at a time, one act of kindness at a time. And trust that I am doing something holy with every small thing, because I am, and I will never stop. My beloved child, you are no longer who you used to be. You may not see it clearly, but I do. The way you carry your heart has changed. The way your eyes soften when you look at others, the way your words bring comfort instead of pressure, the way your presence brings peace into a room. This is not the person who once lived in fear, striving to prove something. This is someone who has been transformed from the inside out. Gratitude now fills the space where resentment used to live. Compassion has replaced the sharp edges of anger. There is a gentleness in you now that wasn't forced or learned through striving. It was born through surrender, through those long nights of pain and honest prayers, through the mornings you chose to return to me, even when you still felt broken. Every one of those moments became part of your healing. And now that healing has started to overflow. Your family sees it. The ones who once felt far now feel your nearness. They hear it in the way you listen without judgment. They see it in the way you stay present, not trying to fix or control, but simply loving. The old wounds between you and them are beginning to close, not because you have said all the right words, but because you have become a safe place. You carry peace, and people feel it. Your relationships are being restored. Some of them had withered over time. Hurtful words, long silences, misunderstandings. But now, healing flows not through grand gestures, but through daily kindness. A phone call, a shared meal, a hug that lingers, a sincere apology. These small acts are filled with my power. You are becoming an agent of reconciliation, not by force, but by faithfulness. You are no longer driven by the need to impress, The weight of proving your worth has lifted. You've stopped performing. You've stopped trying to earn love. And because of that, you are finally free to love. You love your family without needing them to be perfect. You love your friends even when they are distant. You even love yourself gently, without shame. This is the fruit of the miracle I started long ago. It began in your heart, where no one could see. It started with me whispering truth into the places where lies once ruled. It grew quietly, in hidden soil, in every prayer, in every moment of surrender. In every time you said, "I trust you," even when it didn't make sense. That's where the miracle took root. And now it is blooming. You may still feel fragile at times. That's okay. Transformation doesn't mean you won't have hard days. It means you now walk through them differently. You know where your strength comes from. You know who holds your story. You know that my love is not earned and therefore cannot be lost. You've stopped chasing validation. You've started walking in identity. And that changes everything. You are becoming more like me, not by effort, but by presence, by staying near, by letting my spirit shape you from within. You don't have to force growth. You just need to remain rooted. I will do the growing. I will do the transforming. You simply need to stay close. And you are. Every time you forgive when it hurts. Every time you speak life instead of criticism. Every time you choose grace over pride, you are walking in transformation. You are reflecting my heart. You are living my love. And the world around you is noticing, even if they don't have the words to say it. You are no longer striving to change your outside world. You are living from a changed heart. And that is how true miracles last. Because the heart is the soil. The heart is the temple. The heart is the place where I begin and where I remain. The greatest miracle I ever performed was not in a public spectacle. It was in the quiet transformation of a surrendered life. That is the miracle I have done in you. And that is the miracle I am still doing, even now. You are not who you were, and you will not return to that place again. Not because you are stronger on your own, but because you have learned to walk with me. You have allowed me to make my home within you. And now everything you do flows from that sacred connection. The way you speak, the way you forgive, the way you see others, it all comes from a heart that has been with me. You are no longer reacting from your pain. You are responding from my peace. You are no longer seeking to control. You are learning to trust. And in that trust, love has taken root. I see how you bless those around you. You offer encouragement where you once stayed silent. You give without expecting in return. You pray for others in quiet places where no one sees. These acts do not go unnoticed. They echo in eternity. Your journey is not just for you. Others are watching. They are learning what is possible through your life. Some are beginning to believe again, not because of what you say, but because of who you are becoming. You are living proof that a surrendered heart can be transformed. You are a living testimony of my grace. Do not look back with regret. Look back and see how far you've come. See the ashes I've turned into beauty. See the walls that have come down. See the hearts that are softening, because yours was first. The world needs what you carry. It needs the gentleness, the compassion, the courage, the peace. It needs your testimony, spoken through your life, not shouted, but lived. Not proven, but poured out in quiet love. So stay close to me. Keep letting me shape you. Keep listening for my voice, even in the smallest places. Let your heart stay open, because that is where I continue to do my deepest work. That is where my miracle keeps growing. And when the world asks what happened to you, when they ask why you smile differently, why you carry peace in chaos, why you love without condition, just tell them the truth. Tell them, He changed my heart, because that's where I began. And that's where the greatest miracle remains, my beloved child. You are becoming someone entirely new. Not in the way the world defines newness, with outward reinvention or image, but in the way heaven defines transformation, from the heart outward. The change is not just visible in what you do. It is evident in how you are, how you see, how you respond. You are no longer the person who had to be heard first. Now you are someone who listens, not just with your ears, but with your heart. You no longer rush to offer answers. Instead, you create space for others to speak. You sit with their pain. You recognize the quiet cries beneath loud words. You understand what it means to carry someone else's burden, even when they never ask. And that, my child, is a reflection of me. Your empathy is not weakness. It is strength made soft. It is what happens when a heart that was once guarded becomes a sanctuary. You are that now, a sanctuary. People feel it. They may not be able to name it, but when they are near you, something settles in them. They breathe a little easier. They speak a little more honestly. They feel safe. Because you are safe, and not because you have it all together, but because you've allowed yourself to be broken and rebuilt with me. You don't pretend anymore. You don't hide behind a polished version of yourself. You show up honestly. And that honesty is what invites others to do the same. People who once walked away are returning, not because you chased them, not because you proved anything, but because they see something in you that speaks to their soul. They sense something eternal. And they're right. It is me in you. You don't need to defend your transformation. Just live it. Let it speak for itself. Because the greatest evidence of a miracle is not in the words you declare, but in the life you embody. You used to try to be strong all the time. You thought vulnerability was failure. You believed silence made you invisible. But now you understand. You understand that your strength is not in pretending. It is in resting in me. You've learned that weakness is not your enemy. It is the place where my grace flows the deepest. And so now you are not ashamed of the parts of your story that once made you hide. You speak them with gentleness. You share them not to gain sympathy, but to offer hope. You let others see your healing, not as a final product, but as a living testimony that I make all things new. You are not trying to shine anymore. You are choosing to reflect, not your own light, but mine. Not your own strength, but my presence. And that is why people are drawn to you. They are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to presence. They are drawn to the peace they sense when you walk into the room. You don't always need to say much. Often your silence speaks louder than words. Your quiet compassion speaks volumes. Your humility, your patience, your willingness to sit in the unknown with someone else, this is where miracles grow. And these are not the kind of miracles that make headlines, they make heartlines. They mark people forever. They leave the imprint of heaven. People are not moved by perfection. They are moved by authenticity. They are moved when they witness someone who has been through fire and still carries light. Someone who has lost much and still chooses love. Someone who does not speak to impress, but to uplift. That is what you have become. You have stopped trying to fix everyone. You have started simply being with them. You have learned that the ministry of presence is greater than the ministry of solutions. Sometimes all someone needs is to not be alone. And when you stay, when you listen, when you carry their sorrow without trying to erase it, they feel me. Because I am there in the quiet with you. I am the peace in your eyes. I am the strength in your stillness. I am the compassion in your silence. What you are doing now may feel small, but in the kingdom of heaven, it is great. Every time you respond with kindness instead of judgment, every time you hold space for another's story, every time you choose patience, you are living my miracle. I never asked you to be impressive. I asked you to be faithful. I never wanted a perfect performance. I wanted your honest presence, and you have given it. And now, you are changing lives, not by what you say, but by how you live, not by what you proclaim, but by what you embody. You are a walking sanctuary, a resting place, a witness of what it means to be found, healed, and sent. People will not see miracles through what you boast about. They will see miracles through what you live out, through the peace that cannot be explained, through the love that does not give up, through the grace that keeps showing up. So walk on, not trying to prove anything, but simply to live close to me. Let your story speak without forcing it. Let your transformation invite others without demanding it. You are not the same, and you never will be again. And that, my child, is a miracle. You may not always feel worthy of the impact you're having. You may still carry moments of doubt, wondering if you are enough. But I need you to remember this. I chose you, not because of your perfection, but because of your surrender. I chose you because I knew what I could do through you once your heart was open. And look what is already unfolding. Do not minimize what I've done. Do not shrink back in false humility. Live boldly in love, humbly in truth, and confidently in grace. Let your life keep whispering hope into the tired hearts around you. And when you question your purpose, just remember, your purpose is to love well, to love me, to love people. To be present. That is where the miracles happen. That is where I move. That is where heaven touches earth. You are my miracle in motion, and I am not finished yet. My beloved child. There comes a moment in every journey when the story no longer belongs only to the one who lived it. It becomes a light for others, a map for those still wandering. A whisper of hope in someone's darkest hour. This is where you are now. You have walked through the fire and come out with something eternal. Not a trophy, not applause, but a living testimony. And that is worth more than all the praise in the world. You now tell your story not to gain approval, but to give hope. You speak not to elevate yourself, but to lift others. Your voice is no longer about being heard. It is about helping someone else feel seen. And every time you share, something shifts. Hearts open, walls fall. A spark is lit in someone who thought the light would never return. You say with honesty, I lost everything. And you mean it. You lost what the world counts as success. You lost the approval of people. You lost security and control. But what you found was far greater. You found me. You found the one thing no one can steal from you, your faith in me. And now you know that it was worth it. Not because pain is good, but because grace is greater. Not because loss is holy, but because I redeem every loss. Not because you wanted to suffer, but because even in suffering I was writing a greater story. Each time you tell it, something holy happens. Each time you recount the pain, not with bitterness but with gratitude, my presence moves. Because you are not just telling your story, you are revealing mine. You are showing the world what redemption looks like when it wears a human face. You are proving that nothing is too broken for me to restore. And you're not telling your story as someone who has arrived. You speak as someone who is still healing, still growing, still needing grace. That is what makes your testimony powerful. Not its perfection, but its honesty. Not its polish, but its purity. Not its resolution, but its reflection of me. You are not a preacher, you are a witness, and your life speaks louder than any sermon. The way you forgive, the way you walk humbly, the way you stand in quiet strength even when life shakes around you. These are the verses of your testimony. These are the words the world reads. Every time you share, it's not just a story being told. It's a seed being planted, a light being lit, a door being opened. And someone, somewhere, is being drawn to me through it. You may never know the full impact of your words. You may never see the faces of those who found light because of your honesty. But I see them, I know them, and I smile every time you choose to speak with humility and love. This is why I asked you to remember, to not bury your pain, but to let me turn it into purpose, to not silence your past, but to let it become a song of hope for others, because your journey was never just about you. It was always meant to reach beyond you. You see now that the moments you thought were wasted have become water for someone else's thirst. The seasons you thought were silent are now a melody in someone else's healing. The nights you cried alone are now the reason someone else feels less alone in their own struggle. This is the mystery of my kingdom. Nothing is wasted. No tear, no failure, no wilderness. I gather it all. I weave it into something beautiful. And when you speak of what you've survived, when you testify of what I have done, you become part of someone else's miracle. You don't need a stage to share. You don't need an audience. You only need a willing heart. Because the most powerful testimonies are often spoken in quiet rooms, across coffee tables, in hospital waiting rooms, in phone calls and silent prayers. You carry my story in your story. And the world is hungry for something real. Your scars do not disqualify you. They authenticate you. They prove that grace is not a concept. It is a person. It is me. So speak. Speak not with fear, but with love. Speak not to perform, but to invite. Speak not to be seen, but to let others know they are not alone. And remember, each time you tell the truth about what I've done in your life, someone else finds the courage to believe it could happen for them too. So go on telling it, my child. Again and again, through words, through actions, through kindness, through presence. Let your whole life echo this truth. I am real. I am near. I am faithful. You are not just living a testimony, you are becoming one. One day someone will come to you quietly, maybe with tears, maybe with silence, and they'll say, because of your story, I didn't give up. And in that moment, you will understand more deeply why I allowed your path to be what it was. You'll see how the pain you thought would crush you became the very platform I used to lift others. You'll feel how the valley that once swallowed your hope is now a trail others walk through with courage because of your light. This is how I redeem. And still, I am not finished. Your story is still being written. New chapters are unfolding with every step of faith, every act of love, every time you choose me again. And I will use it all. Nothing will be wasted, nothing will be overlooked. The world is full of noise, but your voice, rooted in love, rises with clarity. It cuts through the confusion, it offers shelter. It offers truth, and it reminds people that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about walking with me, even when there are none. So speak boldly, even if your voice trembles. Live gently, even when the world shouts. Keep sharing, keep loving, keep returning to the story we are writing together. You are not just someone who found the light, you are someone who now reflects it. And every time you tell your story, another soul finds their way home. My beloved child, as this story draws to a close, I want you to know one truth above all others. The miracle you've heard about, the healing you've witnessed, the redemption that turned ashes into beauty, it's not just a story for someone else, it's an invitation for you. It's my voice calling you by name, whispering into the deepest places of your soul, come home. This miracle isn't trapped in the past. It isn't only for the strong or the worthy. It isn't locked behind religious rituals or perfect prayers. It's for you right now, in this moment, in all your brokenness and wonder. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to fix yourself before coming. You just have to be willing to open your heart. I see you. I've seen the silent tears. I've heard the questions that echo in the night. I know the weight you carry, the shame you hide, the longing you silence, and still, I love you. Still, I want you. Still, I am waiting for you to turn toward me, not in fear, but in trust. You may have believed miracles are for other people, for those who pray louder, who live better, who never doubt. But I tell you now, the miracle you need is waiting on the other side of surrender, not because you've earned it, but because I give it freely. I've walked with you, even when you didn't know I was there. I've carried you through storms you thought would break you. I've protected you from battles you never saw. And now I want to walk with you in peace, in healing, in purpose. I know you're tired. I know the world has bruised you. I know there are pieces of you you've stopped believing can ever be whole again. But I have not stopped believing. I have not stopped loving. And I have not stopped calling your name. You don't need a miracle to prove my love. My love is the miracle. My love has been constant when you were strong and when you were breaking. My love has followed you through your highest joys and your lowest valleys. You've never been alone, not for a single breath. And today, I'm not just inviting you to believe in a story. I'm inviting you into a relationship. You don't need to be afraid of me. I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here to restore you. I'm not looking at your failures. I'm looking at your future, and it is beautiful when you walk it with me. The road won't always be easy. But it will never be walked alone. I promise that. If you open your heart, I will enter. Not with noise or judgment, but with peace. Not with demands, but with grace. I will meet you in the quiet. In the simple. In the now. And I will begin a new work in you that you never thought possible. You may wonder how. You may ask, why me? But I ask, why not you? Why not now? Why not let this be the day everything begins to shift? Let this be the day your heart starts to breathe again. Let this be the moment you say, I'm ready. Because I am. I've been ready. Ready to walk with you, ready to speak gently to your wounds, ready to lift the burdens you've carried alone for far too long. I am not far away. I am near. I am in the breath you're taking now. I am in the quiet beating of your heart. I am in the tears forming in your eyes, and I am not leaving. The miracle is not beyond your reach. It's within your yes, within your whisper of surrender. Within your decision to believe that, maybe, just maybe, you're not forgotten. You are chosen. You are known. You are loved, so come as you are. Come with your questions, your doubts, your pain. Come with your longing and your fear. Come not because you have it together, but because you don't. That's the miracle. I meet you right where you are, and when you do, everything changes. Not always on the outside, but always on the inside. Peace begins to grow. Joy starts to return. Purpose rises from the ashes, and love becomes real, not a concept, but a presence. You are not too far. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are exactly where you need to be to hear this. I want you. I've been waiting for you, and I will never stop waiting. If you hear my voice today, don't harden your heart. Open it just a little. Just enough to let the light in, just enough to let love breathe, just enough to say, maybe this is for me too. Because it is. This miracle is not just for others, it's for you, right here. Right now, and I am here, always. Let today be the beginning of something new. Not just a better day, but a new life. A life where you don't have to pretend anymore. Where you don't have to carry it all alone. Where you're no longer running to prove your worth, but walking in the truth that you are already loved. I know how hard it is to trust again. To hope again. I know what it's like to be disappointed, but I also know what it's like to bring dead things back to life. To rebuild what was shattered, to restore what was lost. That's what I do. That's what I long to do in you. Even if all you have is a whisper, that's enough. Even if all you can manage is a tear, that's enough. I can work with the smallest yes. I can turn it into a river of healing, a flood of grace, a sunrise where you thought there would always be night. You may be listening to this, thinking it's too late. That you've missed your moment, that you've messed up too much, but I tell you the truth. This moment is not too late. It is exactly the right time. It's the moment heaven has waited for. It's the moment love leans close and says, you still belong. So breathe, my child, just breathe, and in your breath, let go. Let go of what you thought it would take. Let go of who you thought you had to be. Let go of the weight that was never yours to carry. And take my hand. Let me walk you home, because this miracle, this story of healing, this story of redemption, this story of coming back to life, it's not just something you've heard. It's something that is ready to begin in you, right now, and I'm already here, waiting and loving you still.